Hidden deep in the Colorado Rockies lies a fortress designed to break the world's most dangerous men without laying a hand on them. No escape attempts, no riots, no human contact. This is ADX Florence, America's Supermax, where time, silence, and concrete are the ultimate weapons. In this documentary, we go behind the steel doors and razor wire perimeters to uncover how life really works inside the most secure prison in the United States. In 1994, the U.S. Bureau of Prisons opened ADX Florence in response to a wave of high-profile inmate violence and escapes from other federal facilities. Officially called the United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, it was built to house prisoners deemed too dangerous for traditional high-security prisons. With 490 single-occupancy cells, reinforced concrete walls, and nearly invisible security technologies, ADX became the model for control unit incarceration. Media nicknamed it Alcatraz of the Rockies, a title reflecting both its isolation near Florence, Colorado, and its reputation for being inescapable. ADX sits on 37 acres of remote land about 2 hours from Denver. The main structure resembles a fortress, layers of fencing topped with razor wire, electronic motion sensors, and guard towers. Inside, cell blocks radiate from a central corridor, allowing staff to monitor movement with minimal exposure. Every cell has a single window only 4 inches wide, angled so inmates cannot see the horizon. The architecture's purpose is psychological as much as physical, limiting stimuli to prevent communication, planning, or escape. Prisoners at ADX include convicted terrorists, organized crime leaders, espionage offenders, and violent gang figures. Notable inmates have included Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, Oklahoma City bomber Terry Nichols, and cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, briefly. Placement here follow. It was a rigorous classification process by the Bureau of Prisons. Most inmates have histories of assaults on staff, killings behind bars, or high escape risks. Although some serve short control terms before transfer back to other prisons, many remain at ADX for decades. A typical day at ADX is highly regimented. Inmates spend about 22 to 24 hours a day in their cells, which measure roughly 7 by 12 feet. Meals arrive through a slot in the steel door. Recreation, when granted, occurs in a small, enclosed yard known as a dog run, often alone and under heavy surveillance. Movement between areas requires full restraints and multiple officers. This system is designed to reduce inmate-to-inmate contact and maintain near-total control over every minute of the day. Each cell contains a concrete bed, desk, and stool molded into the floor, along with a combination toilet sink unit made of stainless steel. A fixed shower operates on a timer to prevent flooding or misuse. The narrow window is placed high on the wall so inmates see only sky, not ground. Lights remain on but dim at night. These design features, studied by architects and psychologists, aim to minimize objects that could be weaponized while amplifying the sense of isolation. Every transfer inside ADX is a tightly choreographed operation. Before a door opens, another must close. Inmates are handcuffed through the slot, placed in shackles, and escorted by at least 2 officers. Corridors are empty of other prisoners, and cameras track each step. Even legal visits occur through thick glass with phones, preventing physical contact. This no-cross-traffic design virtually eliminates surprise attacks or escapes during movement. ADX is built around the idea of a control unit, an environment where staff, not inmates, dictate every detail. Movement, speech, recreation, and even reading materials are privileges earned through good behavior. The Bureau of Prisons views this as a management tool for those who endangered lives at other prisons. Critics, however, argue that indefinite isolation amounts to psychological punishment beyond the sentence imposed by a court. Outdoor recreation at ADX means a small concrete-walled enclosure nicknamed the Dog Run. Prisoners are alone, with only a sliver of sky overhead. Sessions typically last 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, but can be canceled for security reasons. No ball games, no group exercise, just pacing or push-ups. For many, it's the only time they feel fresh air. The design prevents communication with other inmates, further reinforcing isolation. Although the environment is austere, Inmates can gradually earn limited privileges: a television tuned to educational and religious channels, more books from the library cart, or access to monitored correspondence courses. Progression is tracked through a step-down program designed to move prisoners from total isolation to less restrictive units and eventually to other federal prisons. This program is slow and highly discretionary. Some prisoners never advance beyond the first stage. Located within the same compound, step-down units offer slightly more human contact. Inmates may share meals or recreation with a small group under strict supervision. They might also have more phone calls or personal property. Officials see this as a way to test whether a prisoner can handle reduced restrictions without violence. Success can lead to transfer out of ADX. Failure usually means a return to 23-hour lockdown. Inside ADX Florence, communication is not just restricted, it's systematically engineered to be almost impossible. Each cell's 4-inch window is angled toward the sky, so prisoners can't signal anyone on the ground. Doors are solid steel with only a small slot for food and restraints. Telephone calls are rare and strictly monitored. Legal calls must be scheduled and recorded except for privileged attorney conversations. Even letters are screened and sometimes delayed to ensure no hidden codes or contraband are passed. Visits happen behind glass partitions, with no hugs or handshakes, and staff sit close enough to overhear. This communications blackout reflects the prison's central mission: to sever inmates from networks on the outside and from one another. Officials argue it prevents escape plots or continued criminal leadership, while critics counter that it erodes basic human connection and mental health. Psychologists who have studied Supermax confinement describe it as an experiment in sensory deprivation. At ADX Florence, the monotony is absolute: identical walls, fixed furniture, minimal sound, and no view of the horizon. Prisoners report sleep disruption, depression, paranoia, and in some cases hallucinations after years in near-total isolation. The Bureau of Prisons maintains that mental health services are available. Staff psychiatrists conduct rounds and inmates can request evaluations, but access is often limited to brief interviews through the cell door. Civil rights lawsuits have accused ADX of neglecting mentally ill prisoners, prompting some reforms and the creation of special mental health units. Nevertheless, human rights organizations continue to document the psychological toll of prolonged isolation, arguing that conditions here can push even stable inmates toward breakdown. Over the years, ADX Florence has housed some of the most infamous criminals in U.S. history: terrorist mastermind Ramzi Youssef, cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and Al-Qaeda operative Zacarias Moussaoui, among others. Each lives in the same concrete box as lesser-known prisoners, their notoriety no shield from the routine of isolation. Meals through a slot, recreation in a cage, lights dimming but never dark, day after day. Yet their presence underscores why ADX was built: to control inmates considered too dangerous or disruptive for any other prison. Media requests to interview them are almost always denied. Glimpses into their daily lives come only from court filings, lawyer statements, or rare declassified documents. This veil of secrecy adds to the prison's mythos and the public's fascination with what happens inside. Beyond the obvious fences and towers, ADX employs a network of hidden technologies. Pressure pads embedded in floors alert control rooms to unexpected movement. Cameras with pan-tilt-zoom capability cover every angle, while microphoned intercoms monitor sound levels. Even air vents are engineered to prevent passage of contraband or messages. Lighting and door locks are controlled from a central hub that can isolate any section instantly. This level of automation means fewer staff have direct contact with prisoners, reducing risk to personnel, but also increasing the sense of an impersonal, mechanized environment. Former wardens have described ADX as a prison run by electronics, where staff are more like air traffic controllers than traditional guards. It's a model studied by other nations for its effectiveness, and criticized for dehumanizing both inmates and staff. Since its opening, ADX Florence has been the subject of lawsuits, congressional inquiries, and investigative journalism. Civil rights attorneys have argued that its extreme isolatis violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment, especially for prisoners with mental illnesses. Reports by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have echoed these concerns, documenting suicides and self-harm incidents. The Bureau of Prisons defends ADX as necessary for safety, pointing to a dramatic reduction in assaults and escapes compared with other high-security facilities. Yet secrecy around operations and restrictions on media access fuel speculation about hidden abuses. Over time, these legal battles have led to incremental reforms, such as the step-down program and mental health units. But the core architecture of control and isolation remains intact. While the public imagines ADX Florence as a world of concrete and criminals, there's another side, the men and women who work there every day. Correctional officers, psychologists, nurses, maintenance crews, and administrators all pass through multiple checkpoints to reach their posts. Training is intensive. Officers learn advanced restraint tactics, emergency response, and how to de-escalate confrontations with little physical contact. Yet the psychological toll of working in such an environment is heavy. Staff spend hours in sterile corridors under constant camera surveillance, interacting with prisoners through steel doors rather than face-to-face. Former employees describe a sense of detachment and fatigue, compounded by the isolation of living in a rural area with few amenities. Despite this, many take pride in their role, citing the facility's unmatched safety record and the importance of preventing high-risk inmates from harming others. Although ADX Florence is designed to be inescapable, it hasn't been entirely free of crises. In 2015, an inmate managed to assault a guard with a sharpened piece of metal during a rare out-of-cell movement, sparking renewed debate about security protocols. In other cases, prisoners have attempted hunger strikes or self-harm as acts of protest. Yet compared to other high-security prisons, ADX has seen no successful escapes and far fewer inmate-on-inmate killings. This record reinforces its reputation as the ultimate containment facility. Still, each incident, no matter how minor, triggers after-action reviews, policy changes, and sometimes lawsuits. These rare breaches also remind the public that behind the fortress walls are human beings, both inmates and staff, whose actions can disrupt even the most carefully engineered system. Leaving ADX Florence is not simple. Most inmates transfer only after years of demonstrating perfect compliance in the step-down program. This gradual process may start with slightly longer recreation periods, then limited group activities, and eventually transfer to a high-security but less restrictive federal prison. Lawyers sometimes petition for reassignment on medical or mental health grounds, but success rates are low. For a small number of prisoners, the only exit is completion of their sentence or death. Critics argue that this creates a sentence within a sentence, effectively imposing life in isolation without judicial review. Supporters counter that the step-down system incentivizes good behavior and protects staff and the public. In practice, outcomes vary widely, and many remain in Supermax conditions for decades. ADX Florence has become a symbol in the national conversation about solitary confinement. Supporters see it as a necessary tool for controlling the worst of the worst, citing reduced violence across the federal system since its opening. Opponents point to research linking prolonged isolation to mental deterioration, suicide, and increased recidivism. International bodies, including the United Nations, have criticized U.S. Supermax practices as inconsistent with human rights standards, particularly for inmates with mental illnesses. In recent years, bipartisan coalitions in Congress have introduced bills to limit long-term solitary confinement, and some state systems have begun reforms. Whether ADX itself will ever fundamentally change remains uncertain. It stands at the intersection of public safety, punishment philosophy, and evolving science about human resilience. From its razor-wire fences to its silent cell blocks, ADX Florence embodies the American experiment in extreme security. Every aspect, the architecture, the routines, the restrictions, is designed to neutralize risk, but at the cost of human connection. For the public, it's a place of dark fascination, where notorious names disappear into concrete boxes. For the inmates, it's a world of hours measured by meal slots and glimpses of sky. And for staff, it's a daily exercise in vigilance within a fortress built to outlast crises. As debates over criminal justice, mental health, and human rights continue, ADX Florence stands as a stark reminder of the lengths to which a society will go to contain those it deems most dangerous. The question that lingers beyond its walls is whether such a model makes us safer, or simply hides the problem from view. Thank you for watching this deep dive inside ADX Florence, America's most secure prison. If you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to hit the like button so more people can see it. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss our next true crime investigation. And share this video with someone who thinks they know how prison really works. Until next time, stay curious. Stay informed, and we'll see you in the next documentary.